Welcome to our course, Inbox to Action. And this comes second after understanding how to use Google Doc. And the reason I say that is if you are likely to need something, you're most likely to need Google Doc first. However, quickly following Google Doc, if you're working with somebody who uses Google and you want the most out of the productivity, this is where you need to learn how to master Gmail. And the reason I share this particular video is if you use just Google Doc, you can be great. You can survive in the wild. But the reality is where Google is truly powerful and where you can get the most productivity is when you start to integrate and bring the universe of Google, the ecosystem together. And in that respect, this is where Gmail comes in. So I'm going to show you how to set up a free email account. That's the Gmail option. And for most of what you need to learn in this course, you can probably get away with the free version. I use Google Workspace for everything. And the reason I do that is I get a lot of functionality all for one low monthly price. And honestly, I don't even think about Workspace as a cost anymore. It's just part of my life and it makes my life easier. Therefore, I pay for it. If I'm running through the numbers and you really care about cost, I believe Workspace. I have 4 users and I spend somewhere around $100 Canadian a month for those 4 users. Now I have upgrades and I have this and I have that. But what I like about the Workspace is it includes everything you need to get the most out of Google. And I'm going to be honest with you, I've eliminated most other software from my life. So pretty much, I would argue that my $100 a month investment in Gmail and all of the Google Workspace saves me hours and hours of my life. And it saves me complexity from learning other tools. And it saves me the cost of those other tools. Now, I think the biggest pain most people have is that their Gmail is a disorganized inbox, and we're going to talk about how to make that more productive. And I'm going to show you some very basic system-based habits for communication, time saving, and delegation. And as always, the whole point of this is I want to show you what we can do with future integrations. So one of my favorite things is onboarding. I believe that the way you onboard can solve a lot of problems. If you don't onboard well, you're going to create a lot of problems. So one of the things I've done, you'll see this in action in this course. I will show you how to do it in more advanced courses. But basically, what I do is somebody new to my world submits a Google form. So very, very the example is I have the Google Workspace Fluency Diagnostic. I'm not here to teach you how to do this yet. We will get into this later. But somebody fills in this diagnostic, basically the answer to the questions, and then Google pulls that diagnostic into a Google Sheet so I can analyze it in a spreadsheet. And then from there, it can trigger and send emails to welcome people on board, to send them resources. In this particular example, once somebody completes the diagnostic and they understand where they're at today, they receive what I call the Google Fluency Intelligence Report. And by the way, just one of the things a lot of people say, oh, Jeff, there's nothing there. It's a blank screen. Scroll down and there's the details. So basically what I did, it's an initial assessment to see where you are. And then for each question, I show you the answers. Here's the wrong answer, correct answer, incorrect, incorrect. And here's what this answer actually does. So if you're looking to learn a lot, basically, I think there is somewhere around 50 questions, 60 questions, sorry, with 4 learning points per question. So you're getting about 240 tips from that. Now, this is onboarding. It's about helping people. So everybody who comes into the Google world that I teach and support for what I call my Google Powered Productivity Academy, they get a copy of this report so that they can look back to it. They can use the search. And by the way, if you're ever stuck trying to find something, Control F is your best friend because it brings up the find in document and you can type what you want to find. So if you're looking for reference to docs, there it is. And you just click on the down arrow to find them. So let's get back into talking about email. So I'm going to show you what I consider to be the most important, which is this Pareto principles. And basically here we're looking at 20% of Gmail features that give you 80% of your productivity. So we're going to talk about filters and labels, snoozing, stars, importance. We're going to use the search bar. One of my favorite things is if I have a very important client email or employee email, when I have it open in Gmail, I can copy the link from my browser bar and I can bookmark it. I can add it to a document. I can always find those emails. So I don't have to keep searching. And I'll show you some keyboard shortcuts. And last, we'll talk about how to set up the signature and to schedule emails. So first things first, I'm going to show you how to set up a free Gmail account. You can go through and learn how to set up a Google Workspace account on your own. It is almost identical. The only thing is you have to put in a credit card, you have to link a domain. So as an example, I run my website, my entire business, pharosbusiness.com. I use Google as the foundation. So that's why I have the Google apps over here, and I have access to everything in the Google family. So first things first. Oops. Now, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Whenever I'm using a Google Doc, I always go to View and Show Non-Printing Characters so that I can see what's going on, because otherwise you waste a lot of time doing formatting and stuff. So to open a Google account, as I said, Gmail is free. So I am going to set up Alex Rivers is a fictional character. He's one of the characters in my books. Now, I don't want to open up Alex to spam, but let's say he was born January 1st. Oops. Let's make him a Y2K baby. And he is male. That's his character. And I will be changing this. So just so you know, if somebody's looking to hack in, sorry, but this is just for demo purposes. So there's Alex. And we will give him so I like first name dot last name, or I could use first initial last name, but I'm guessing this is common enough. So alexrivers@gmail.com. Believe it or not, that is taken. Now, never put your birth date in your email. I see a lot of people will say, first name, last name, year of birth. You're just giving hackers something easier to use. So I'm going to put Alex River character. at gmail.com. So put something that you'll remember, something that's memorable. Okay, and password, I use LastPass. Like I said, I will be changing this. If you want to write it down, go ahead. So I'm adding another recovery. That way, if I lose it, I can always get in. So alexrivers.character@gmail.com. Now, I always forget things, so I'm going to make a note of this. So that I can come back and change it later. You have to accept their privacy. I agree. And just like that, you have access to one of my personal favorite, and I humbly think one of the world's most powerful platforms for free. Now, don't get me wrong, your functionality varies, but I will show you what you can do. So myaccount.google.com is where Alex Rivers can now sign in. I might as well give Alex a profile picture. And yes, I have a picture of Alex. Because why not? There. So this is Alex Rivers, World Meet Alex, Alex Meet World. And the picture is visible to everyone. So we can do a bunch of things. I can add a phone number. I can set my home address. Obviously, I can go and change my password. You can add payments and subscriptions, things like that. But I want to stress this is the free Gmail account. And it is a bare minimum if you're working with someone like me who uses Google a lot. For this course, I promise you, you're going to need this. So go ahead and create your own, something you'll use, something you'll remember. We can get into some more advanced stuff later, but all we need to do now is open. And this is the Gmail inbox. Now, we can add Gemini to this. We can do a whole bunch of things. I'm not going to get fancy. What you need to know is that the free version of Google, the Gmail inbox, is a maximum of 15 gigabits of data storage in your account. So if you're going to upload photos, you're going to upload emails, just know you're going to run into some limitations. And the default, they set it up with a three-way inbox, so you can filter by primary. These are emails from people you already know, promotions, just random things near that come to you, and then social. And of course, just for the record, if something is free, it means you are the product, not the free thing. Therefore, you will notice with Google, the Gmail account is free. Therefore, I'm going to get served ads immediately. So good news, according to the Toyota dealership, I deserve a new RAV4, yay me. And I can only get it. I can get it for only $119 weekly. Also, Pluto for payments. So we can get rid of those later, but for now, they are going to serve a purpose, so I'm going to leave them there. And as you can see, it's all very simple. So you can see your general inbox, starred messages, snoozed messages, things you've marked important, chats, sent emails, draft emails. So if you're typing something and you close out and then you come back, that's where it'll be. You can open all mail so you can see everything. And it says their servers are feeling unloved, so we'll fix that. And then, of course, if something doesn't appear where you think it should be, look in spam, and then anything you delete goes in trash. And then down here, you saw the main inbox. It had social updates, forums. Basically, this is where you can find anything you're missing, and you will learn to love labels, and you will learn to love categories. So this is just the overview. Again, we'll get into more detail later. But if you need to fix any settings, click on the settings. And I like so you can add some apps to it, so you can customize the apps you see. I personally like a very compact screen, so I don't like a lot of white space. So I use the compact view. You can do default or comfortable. You can see other themes. For me personally, I don't care about anything else other than seeing my unread first. And then you can prioritize your inbox. We may or may not get to that depending on time. And then if you've got multiple email accounts, you can actually show multiple inboxes. And then you can have the preview pane or the reading pane. I usually don't do a split, but you can do it right of inbox, below inbox. And then email threading, you can either have every email coming in as a separate email, or if there's part of a thread, you can see the emails in a thread. It's really up to you. Personally, I prefer conversation view because I don't want to see a whole bunch of things. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to split my screen. And I have Gmail on one side and Google Docs on the other, just so you can follow along. So we created the username and password. We've got our inbox. And honestly, setting up a Google Workspace, slightly more work because you have to connect your domain. So if you bought a domain through, say, GoDaddy, in my case, I have pharosbusiness.com. I can connect it, and then my emails actually come from jeff@pharosbusiness.com. Highly recommend that. That gets into more customization, so we won't cover that. So I've already showed you the gear icon and how you can see all the settings. Now, a couple of cool things. You want to see all settings. And this is magical because everything you need to know about Gmail is in the settings. So very, very quickly, I will not go through all of these. Basically, the settings I use as my default. You set your language. You enable the tools, right to left editing. I don't even actually, this is new, so I don't use that. I like to have as many conversations on a page as possible, so I almost always set that to 100. If you want, you can set it so you can cancel sending. Rarely do I bother, but just in case, let's set it to 30 seconds. And I hate reply all. It makes me angry. I think it's disrespectful to everybody in the thread. So my default behavior is reply. I can reply to all, but I'm only doing it intentionally. And then I can allow hover action. So if I hover over something, I get that ability. And then I like to archive. I love Inbox Zero. We will have a separate course on that. You'll see over here, this is my actual inbox. I have 29 unread emails. Other than that, that's my inbox. And for the record, today's Monday. So those are all the, oh, look at that. Somebody just added. So 30, I apologize. Those are the people who emailed me over the weekend. People in my world, I tell them repeatedly, don't email me over the weekend, yet they do. I have a 3 strikes you're out policy. If a client emails me over the weekend, I mute them, pause them, whatever I need to do. I have OCD, so I need to protect my brain. If I see an email over the weekend or a message over the weekend, I have to respond. I can't not. But I'm working on that. But you can see my inbox, there's only 30. So I archive everything when it's done. And the key is there's no need to really delete things. I archive them because then I can always, you can see this search button, I can always retrieve an old email. Now, I like to disable external images. I know there's a lot of spammers and scammers. They've got dynamic email. I don't like somebody knowing what's going on in my inbox. I don't like images loading unless I know the person. So that's my little security. Again, dynamic email makes it easier for scammers and spammers and marketers to send me stuff. So I don't trust it. So I turned it off. I always have grammar, spelling, autocorrect on. This is new Smart Compose, and I like to personalize. And right now I have the conversation view. This is helpful. It'll tell me emails that I can use. Smart Reply, it drafts things for you. It's amazing. Always turn on the smart stuff. And there's more detail here. And then I don't like to be notified when things are coming in. I think that's just a recipe for distraction. So I always turn off the notifications. And then on the last thing I think that's really, really relevant is I like to enable the stars. So this way I can automate, and I'll have a separate course on how these can magically streamline your inbox. But basically I have predefined each of these stars, each of these other symbols, and they all mean something in my inbox. And there's my picture. And then I like to add contacts and change preferences. Now, adding a signature is really useful. So under general, you go to signatures, you give it a name, and then you've got 320 characters. So you can put links and whatever you have in there. And then I like to see the indicators. It just shows an arrow next to you when you're the only, when you're not a mailing list, so it's personal, or when it's sent to you privately, you get double arrows. I like snippets. And then you can put an office, a vacation responder on. So very cool. And you can say, send it to everybody or just contacts. So that's kind of the general. Now, the labels is really, really powerful, really cool. This IMAP stuff over here on the right, this is using desktop email tools like maybe you want to use Outlook or something. I gave up on that a long time ago because I got tired of syncing issues. But you can actually pick what you see in your label list over here somewhere. So you'll see here we've got starred, we've got snoozed. All of these show up over here. I like to show. Okay, so just to be clear, there's the ones that show up at the top, and then there's the ones that show up under less. So chats, I'm going to hide that, and it's still under my other. And then there's scheduled emails. So here's a bunch of things you can add, and then you can create new labels. I'll show you what to do with those later. Then the inbox, I like to have my unreads always at the top, or I can call it the priority inbox. So what that does is it shows important and unread, it shows starred, and then everything else. So I can add, hold on. Usually what I do is I'll put unread, important and unread, important, and then starred. So this will show me a priority inbox. We'll see what that looks like. I don't like the reading pane. I don't need it, but if you want it, you can enable it. I show the markers, and I let Gmail help me with importance markers. And then filtered mail, we'll get into that. That's where you're going to start to see the real power. And of course, it is still software, so you need to save changes. So these are things, changing your password. I'll let you sort through this. And then you can filter things. So filtering is very important. And if somebody's spamming you, I block them. So this is where you can unblock them if you really need to. We're not going to get into the extras over here because these are all nice to have, but really the filters is the must have. Okay. So let's talk about labels and filters. So this is the most powerful piece. This is where I save a lot of time and headaches. A filter, a basic filter, allows you to filter based on who the email is from, who it is to, the subject line, and whether the email has these certain words or doesn't have those words, and then based on size. And you can have attachment or ignore chats or include chats. So for example, I want to filter emails from myself. Now, I think this is, there we go. Subject. Let's say I have Alex is part of my Pharos Founders Circle. That's my mastermind group. So if the subject has that, and sometimes I change it, so the subject has the words, so I can do, sorry. So my options are the subject has the exact match, it includes the words, or it doesn't include the word junk, for example. So I could do all three of those. I'm going to pick one just because I want to make it simple. I don't care about size, so I'm going to leave those two. And if I always send attachment, I will have an attachment. But then here's what you can do. So first of all, you can do a test search to see how many emails in my inbox I have from Jeff to Alex. Or I can just create the filter. I usually just create the filter because sometimes with the search, it loses what I was trying to do. So I always create the filter. And this is where it gets really, really cool, really powerful. So let's say I am sending Alex updates and he doesn't need to read it, but he just needs to keep it for later and he can search to find it. I do this with newsletters. I hate them in my inbox. So any newsletter that I've subscribed to, it skips my inbox and goes straight to archive, but I add some labels and things so I can find it later. So you might want to skip the inbox. You might want to mark it as read so that it doesn't show up as unread. I do that with all of my newsletters. Anybody who sends me bulk email in any way, it's marked as read. Now, in this case, the mastermind email is probably important to Alex. I hope it's important to Alex. So I would suggest we star it. We're not going to skip the inbox. We're not going to mark it as read. And we're going to apply a label. Now, I don't have any labels. This is a new account. So we can choose an existing label. There are none. or we can create a new label. And in this case, so I'm going to create this new label, and if I had others, I would call it, say, nest it under. And watch this, I'll show you something. So we're going to create it, and then we're going to create a new label. And we're going to create one more label. Okay, so this is collateral. So just from I'm going to put it underneath my Pharos and hit create. So you can see it is Pharos Founder Circle / collateral. So it will add two labels, one nested under the parent. We're not going to forward it. You could. We're not going to delete it. You could. We're going to never send it to spam because we like Jeff and we want it. We're going to mark it as important. Now, again, for newsletters, I always check never mark as important because I don't think newsletters are important. I don't want Google to keep flagging me saying, hey, you got a newsletter. Now, next thing, I would categorize this as primary because Alex hypothetically is paid to be in my mastermind. And this is really cool because here you can say also apply filter to 0 matching conversations. So on the last screen, I said you could do a search. On this screen, I'm seeing there are none. But if I check that, it would apply those and create the filter. Any emails from me with the subject line would be here. So magically, now you can see there is this first filter. So now you can come back and you can edit that. And maybe you got the email wrong, something like that. You can make changes on this screen and then hit continue and make changes here. So I'll give you an example. I did something where I added certain words, and they were my indicator of Black Friday sales, which to me are scammy, spammy. I don't want them. And everything was going to my spam. What I realized is one of my friends, in his standard email subject line to me, he actually had one of the trigger words, which by itself was innocuous, but with Black Friday sale, buy now, or whatever was what I considered spam. I wasn't getting his email, so I had to come in, find the filter, and fix it. So again, to get there, you click on the little gear icon up top, and it won't let me do it because we're in there already. So let's click on inbox. So gear icon, and then all settings, and you come to this filters and blocked addresses. Now be careful, block people that you want to block, because if you say to block them, Google respects that. You never see something from them. So if it's something you want to mute them, you can snooze them. But that is really the heavy lifting. Now, when you're brand new to Gmail, you can customize your inbox, change your profile. You can use it on your phone, import contacts and mail. I use Gmail for everything. Now, we're going to get into the search bar. And if you think about this, Google is known for its search. So you can find things, and I recommend you get really comfortable with the search bar here. So you can, when you drop down, you can search for who it's from, who it's to, what's in the subject. Like I said, you can go for exact match, subject is blank, or you can say subject has the words ... or doesn't have the words. You can set size as greater than or less than. You can put bytes, kilobytes, megabytes. You can do date ranges, which is really powerful because they'll be like, oh, somebody sent me an email in September. You can sort of filter there, and then you can search. Do you want to search your inbox? If you've got your labels and things, you can really narrow it down and say, oh, I want to look for things in Pharaoh's founder circle collateral. And then does it have an attachment? Does it include chats? And then I can search. So Google's search is really, really, really powerful. And then they've got these 3 defaults, anything that has attachment, anything in the last 7 days, anything from me. Now, we talked about the labels. Sorry, where's my filter? So what you'll see is this is bold. That means there's an unread message there. And this is bold, so there's an unread message there. Now you'll see down here, these are my labels. And I want Pharaoh's to be under my mastermind, and I didn't do that before. So I'm going to edit, and I'm going to nest it under mastermind, hit save. And now this is really where it gets helpful. I can add colors to it. So I can see that at a glance, there's some color coding. So the labels are really helpful. Any email that I have that label attached to, it will be easy to find. Now, when you archive, they're hidden, but I still add the labels so that I can find them later. And again, I generally don't use the default categories. I'll make up my own because these are pretty good, but I can add new ones and change them. Okay, so templates. Now this is where I think Google gets missed a lot, is the ability to have what they call canned responses. So if we go to settings, and it'll be in advanced. So if you want to see the next conversation after you do something, enable it. Templates we're going to enable. We might as well have shortcuts. And we definitely want the unread message icon. So that does it like this, so you can see very quickly. You can get into the themes. I don't bother with offline mail. I don't want to sync things. Every device I have has it, so I'm good. And then chat and meet. We're going to turn on chat, and we're going to include meet. And we'll save changes. So now we've enabled templates, and this is where it's really, really powerful. So if you've got an inbox with a bunch of messages, you can see I have my priority. So there's a down arrow here. That means I've got email in unread. I don't have anything in important. There's no arrow. I have something in starred where I don't know what it is because there's nothing there, and then nothing in. So everything else shows me everything that's not in there. So I'm going to close that. But basically, I can click on this down arrow next to the little square, and I can say, show me all emails. I'm not sure why you'd show none. Or you can show read, unread. So basically, oh, sorry, this is to select them. So basically, the default is you check this box, you select all email, or you can select none, or you can select read, unread, starred, or unstarred. So if I just want to see my unread, that's what I do. Now, the most important things, if I want to archive something, I've selected this case. I always mark them red and then select them. So I'm not going to archive this because I will read it and make sure it's, but if you click on that, it goes into the archive. It will still appear in searches. So if you need to find that email again, you can archive it and find it. The little stop sign, you can report spam. I don't delete anymore. I don't know why it's there. from my point of view, if I archive it, it's as good as deleted. Maybe you want to delete something, but I always archive and then I've got it. And then this is checked. So I've checked unread. So this envelope opens, I can mark it as read. You see it goes to regular, mark it as unread, it goes to bold. And then I can move it to my labels. So let's pretend I wanted to move it to mastermind. Now when I go to mastermind, there it is. So once I'm in mastermind, you can see the search, the advanced search, but that's really all there is. Now I'm going to have to find my emails. So I have nothing in my inbox, but basically now we're going to show you how to compose. And again, this is where it gets really powerful. So you click on, you click on compose over here. By the way, on the left here, I can see my email, Gmail, I can see my chat, or I can see Meet, but it's on mail. So I click compose. There's a keyboard shortcut. I can't be bothered to remember it, so I won't ask you to. But basically what you'll see is this pops up and I can start typing email addresses in the to. I can type in the subject. And when I'm in the to, I also get over here the BCC and the CC. And then it's got some basic text editing. If you've copied and pasted something in and you want to get rid of the formatting, you just click on this T with the X through it. But basically you can strike through, you can add quotes, indent, outdent, bulleted list, numbered list, your alignment, basic things. You can add attachments down here. You can insert links. You can insert emojis. I love this because you can insert files using Google Drive. You can insert photos. You can toggle confidential, and you can even ask for signature, insert your signature, a few other things. You can check spelling and so on. But if you want to send a templated email, and this is where you can really save time, let's say you've got, somebody has an inquiry into one of your services, you will have this email up and you click on the three dots, the more options. And if you go under templates, you can save your current email as a template and name it. Or if you have saved templates, it's here. So you can do a lot. You can add a label to the email before you send it. You can check spelling. You can propose times from your calendar. You can create an event. Some really cool stuff in the email interface. Now, I'm going to share some keyboard shortcuts. Honestly, I don't bother, but we've enabled, and so basically you can use these keyboard shortcuts. So you can use, I think it's Control C. All right. Okay. So I'm not going to get into the keyboard shortcuts because you will use them or not use them. Personally, I can't be bothered to remember, and all I have to do is click. So I'll let you test and find out. But if you do use the keyboard shortcuts, I can't remember, did I enable that or not? I think I talked about it, but I think I might have skipped it. But the shortcuts are here. Like I said, I like to reply. I don't like to reply to all. And then the final thing I want to show you is that you can do smart reply and you can schedule a send. So let's compose an email. And let's compose it to myself. So you'll notice that it's got this, I started typing, "Hi Jeff, how are?" and then it came up. So I hit the tab button and it'll complete it. So that's some of the really, really cool things. Now let's come back to the email. Sorry. Now under the send, and this is the final thing I'll show you, you can hit send and it'll send immediately, or you can hit the down arrow and it'll hit schedule send. So you can schedule when you want it to go. You can pick a date and a time. So for those of you who insist on emailing me on the weekend, I respect your desire to send it while you're thinking about it, but go so far as to schedule send and send it to me after 10 a.m. on a Monday, because if you send it to me right at 8 a.m. on a Monday, it gets buried in my inbox. But send it to me Monday so that you send it when you're thinking about it. I get it Monday after work or after I'm at work. So that's the functionality of Gmail. And I look forward to any questions. I will be showing you more things using Docs and Gmail, but that's the heart of it.